Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're exploring a massive, fundamental shift in how we actually view money, success, and, well, all the stuff we constantly fill our lives with. We are completely moving away from that old, tired idea that income equals wealth. Instead, we're shifting our mindset to a much more powerful truth, which is that intentional consumption equals freedom.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to picture two apartments right next to each other in the exact same neighborhood. In the first one, we've got someone earning $95,000 a year. Their place is absolutely packed. We're talking a massive 75-inch TV on the wall, a $4,000 leather sectional, closets literally bursting with clothes that still have the tags on them, and a spare bedroom acting as a glorified storage unit. But look at the reality behind the scenes. They're just two missed paychecks away from a total financial meltdown. Now, on the flip side, consider their neighbor, who earns almost half as much, just $52,000 a year. Their apartment actually has breathing room, a modest couch, only the kitchen tools they actually use, and a spare room that is, an actual bedroom. But here's the kicker. They have 18 months of living expenses saved up, and they invest 20% of every single paycheck. The person earning nearly half as much has 10 times the financial security. Why? Because the higher earner has accumulated a lifestyle that requires every single dollar just to maintain it. It's a stark reminder that a higher income absolutely does not automatically mean financial security.
So how does the $52,000 earner achieve this incredible financial peace? Here is our roadmap for the explainer today. First, we'll unpack the mindset. Second, we'll look at the actionable systems. And finally, we'll redefine the ultimate goal. Let's get right into it.
Starting off with Section 1, the mindset, where we uncover the hidden costs and the total illusion of constantly upgrading our lives.
To completely reframe how you think about every purchase for the rest of your life, you really need to understand this concept, the second cost. Look, when you buy something, the price tag on the receipt, the first cost, is honestly just the entry fee. The second cost is the ongoing financial, spatial, and mental expense you pay just to own the thing.
Let's anchor this abstract idea with some hard, honestly pretty shocking math directly from our source material. That treadmill you bought? Well, space costs money. A treadmill takes up about 20 square feet of floor space, which in many living situations equals roughly $600 to $1,000 a year in implicit rent you're paying just to store a machine you probably use to hang your laundry on. And what about maintenance? Industry standards say a boat costs about 10% of its value in annual upkeep. So a $30,000 boat costs you $3,000 a year just to sit in your driveway. But it gets wilder. Let's talk mental energy. Researchers have actually found that visual clutter literally spikes your cortisol levels. Your unused stuff is subconsciously stressing you out all day. And finally, the ultimate hidden fee, opportunity cost. If you spent $15,000 on a massive home gym setup, that's $15,000 that didn't go into index funds. Over 15 years, that money could have easily grown to $50,000. You didn't just buy a home gym, you bought a home gym instead of buying your future financial freedom.
And that brings us to this massive number on the screen, $200,000. This is the estimated lifetime waste generated by what's known as upgrade culture. Just think about it, replacing a perfectly functional smartphone every 2 years simply because you're bored, or I don't know, because the new one has a slightly better camera. Over 30 years, just your phone upgrades alone can cost you up to $50,000. Apply that constant desire for novelty to your car, your TV, your furniture, it easily exceeds $200,000. Upgrading out of boredom isn't progress, it's wealth destruction disguised as progress. An item is perfectly functional until it genuinely fails to serve its purpose. Boredom is not a mechanical failure.
Okay, so how do we stop the bleeding? That brings us to Section 2, actionable systems, all about friction, value, and intentional living. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it completely destroys impulse buying by using something called cost per use. This is basically the only honest measure of an item's true value. For example, say you buy a cheap $200 jacket just because it's trendy, but you only wear it twice. Congrats, you just paid $100 per wear. But if you buy a high-quality $400 jacket and you wear it 200 times, it only costs you $2 per wear. The expensive jacket is actually way cheaper. And what about that highly specialized kitchen gadget? Spending $300 to use it twice a year. That's $150 per use. Obscene, right? But consider a mattress. $2,000 seems like a huge chunk of change up front, but used every single night for 10 years, it costs just 55 cents per use for something that literally dictates your daily health. This kind of math cuts right through the marketing, the emotion, and the social pressure.
I'm going to break the fourth wall for a second here. I want you to mentally walk through your own home right now and really look at your stuff. I want you to apply the replacement test.
If an item disappeared today, like poof, gone, would you genuinely spend your hard-earned money to replace it? Be totally honest. Would you go out today and repurchase that dusty fondue set? Would you buy that bulky bread maker that's eating up half your counter space? What about the clothes in your closet you haven't worn in a year and a half? For most items, the answer is a very uncomfortable no way. They're just sitting there through pure inertia, not intention. If you wouldn't replace it, it's just draining your space and your energy.
But hey, we are human and our willpower depletes as the day goes on. By 8 p.m., willpower is basically zero. So minimalists don't rely on willpower, they design systems. First, you introduce spending friction. If you delete the shopping apps from your phone, remove your saved credit card numbers from your browser, and enforce a strict 24-hour waiting period before any non-essential purchase, you make spending really annoying. That 24-hour rule alone eliminates roughly 70% of impulse purchases because the sudden urge just evaporates. Conversely, you need saving ease. You have to make the right choice automatic. Set up automatic transfers to your investment accounts on payday before you even have a chance to look at the money. If spending is hard and saving is easy, you're gonna save. It's just human nature to follow the path of least resistance.
All of this builds into what's called the lifestyle multiplier effect. Basically, it's the cascade of expenses triggered by just one single purchase. Let's look at this. Step 1, you buy a boat. Seems like a simple one-time $5,000 purchase, right? Wrong. Step 2, now you've got to buy a trailer and a hitch for your SUV. Step 3, now you have to pay monthly storage fees at the marina. Step 4, maintenance, life jackets, winterization, the whole shebang. A singular purchase multiplies into an entire ecosystem of related expenses. That $5,000 boat actually represents $10,000 or even $12,000 over a few years. You absolutely have to calculate the full ecosystem cost before you buy anything major.
To combat this, here are 3 rapid-fire behavioral systems you can start using literally today. First, rent or borrow first. Please don't let your garage become a museum of past enthusiasms. Want to try kayaking or camping? Just rent the gear first. Prove to yourself the enthusiasm is genuine before you buy into the whole ecosystem. Second, count your possessions. I know it sounds a bit obsessive, but it totally breaks the illusion. Guess how many shirts you own right now? Seriously, go count them later. You probably have 3 times what you estimated in your head. Once you realize you already own 47 shirts, buying a 48th just feels absurd. Third, cyclical decluttering. Don't do that one massive annual purge where you feel amazing for a day and then slowly accumulate it all back. Just remove 3 items a week. It's totally sustainable and it catches the clutter before it overwhelms you.
All these everyday systems finally lead us to Section 3, the ultimate goal. What does wealth actually even mean? And this brilliantly illustrates the single most powerful rule of all, defining enough before you start earning more money. Let's say you sit down and define your ideal, genuine satisfaction at $60,000 a year in expenses. That covers your home, your car, your groceries, your fun. Now, as your career grows and your income jumps to $150,000, you don't keep moving the goalposts. You don't upgrade your entire life just because your paycheck got bigger. Because you previously drew a line in the sand and defined enough, that massive $90,000 gap becomes your margin for freedom. It flows entirely, 100% of it, into building your wealth. High earners trap themselves by constantly redefining enough upwards, which means at the end of the day, they save almost nothing.
So the crucial point here is this. Minimalists don't measure wealth by visible possessions. The fancy cars, the massive houses, the designer clothes. They measure wealth by what they can choose. True wealth is optionality. Can you afford to walk away from a toxic job that's destroying your mental health? Can you take a 6-month sabbatical to care for a sick family member? Can you retire before you're 65? Money tied up in a jet ski sitting in your driveway is money that cannot buy your freedom when you desperately need it. Every single mindless purchase is trading your future optionality for a physical possession.
Let's bring this all the way back to those 2 apartments from the very beginning. Why was the high earner struggling so much while the modest earner was completely thriving? It really comes down to these 2 cycles. For the high earner, they are hopelessly trapped in the cycle of insecurity. Spending everything creates deep financial insecurity. That insecurity creates this terrible emotional void. So, what do? They buy more stuff for temporary emotional relief, which just deepens the financial insecurity even further. It's a complete doom loop. But for our modest earner, they are riding the virtuous cycle. Spending less leads to saving more. Seeing those robust, growing savings builds massive psychological security. And guess what? When you feel genuinely secure in your life, that desperate emotional drive to go out and buy a shiny new toy just to feel successful, it completely dissolves. Your bank account is already telling you the story you want to hear.
Both of those lifestyles, the stressed-out, paycheck-to-paycheck consumer and the financially peaceful minimalist, they are absolutely available to you right now, regardless of what you currently earn. The math strongly favors intentionality, and honestly, so does your peace of mind. So I want to leave you with this final, critical question to ask yourself the very next time you're tempted to open your wallet. Do you want to own your possessions, or are you comfortable with your possessions owning you?